Hey everyone, Apex Legends Season 11 is finally here, which means it's time for another tier list where we are going to be ranking the best legends in Apex Legends Season 11. Take note that my Apex Legends tier list and ranking is primarily for overall power and general use and is mostly dedicated to the Battle Royale. There have been a handful of big shakeups over the past season, so let's waste no more time and just get right to it. Kicking us off, we are going to have the C tier legends, as I do not believe there are any legends in Apex Legends that are in the D or F tier, which would be underwhelming or bad, respectively. Also, every legend can be pretty darn good if you are playing the legend to the fullest and the way it is meant to be played, so keep that in mind as I am ranking the legends. These are really just for overall power and what I think is best in the game. For me, though, C tier are the legends that are just okay in the current meta of Apex Legends, and we do have a singular legend at C+. This is going to be Mirage. Mirage has always been a very satisfying legend to play for me, but as of Season 11, Mirage is suffering a little bit. His passive of invisible reviving and respawning is useful, but it's only active for a very small portion of the game, unlike other passives that can literally be active all game long. Mirage's tactical is pretty predictable and weak, but it is nice to find out where enemies are when they do ping and shoot that decoy. The ultimate is the best thing going for Mirage, and the life of the party is a really nice tool to confuse your enemies in fights or just to escape, but nonetheless, Mirage's skill ceiling is always limited by the players he is up against, and I truly think that the Bamboozle King is in need of some more love with a small buff or just a little bit of a rework. That being said, it's okay to play a weaker legend from time to time, and Mirage can feel very rewarding when you are excelling with him and when you are bamboozling your opponents. Next up, we move on to the B tier legends, which I deem to be good, but not quite at the level of amazing. At B-, we are going to have Lifeline. It really did shock me to put Lifeline all the way down here, but I do have a couple reasons for it. Lifeline went from a legend who was a very powerhouse legend, highly used, highly regarded with that revive shield, to a legend who has been pretty lackluster in the recent months. Lifeline is still a solid legend when she is reviving the squad, but without that, she really does not have too much. Similar to Mirage, Lifeline's passive is really only used for a very small percentage of the game. She did get a nice little buff at the start of last season with the care package loot actually giving better loot, but her care package can also be a pretty big detriment as you do put a huge target on yourself when you are calling it in. I will say that the healing drone is probably my favorite part, and the ability to combo this drone with shields is really clutch in fights, and it can make a huge difference. I think that Respawn needs to take a look at Lifeline and try to really enhance her ultimate to be more in line with her name. Lifeline is a really great legend in certain environments, but for general play, I think there are way better options. For our first solid B tier legend, we are going to have the new heirloom recipient, Rampart. Rampart saw her ultimate finally become relevant with the fact that she can now be mobile with it. This did give her a small power boost in my eyes, which was definitely needed. On top of this, the L-Star being meta has absolutely helped her out, and so does the Rampage. Both of these LMGs are great guns, which once again does make her passive a huge win in my book. The problem with Rampart's kit is her amp walls, though. While they can be used aggressively to corner off your enemies and get really good angles on them, they really do require a lot of extra steps and thought to be used appropriately, which I think the majority of the player base just does not care enough to learn them. I'd love to see the amp walls get a small boost in the activation speed to really make them a powerhouse ability. Overall, though, Rampart is pretty solid if you do enjoy this tactical type of gameplay, but much like Rampart and many other legends, I think they are going to have a tough time in the meta of Season 11, as Stormpoint is absolutely huge. Season 11 does have an emphasis on movement, and Rampart just really isn't this. I will say, though, if you are playing Apex solely for ranked, then she might be a little bit higher than the solid B tier I'm giving her. Our next solid B tier legend is going to be Crypto. Crypto is my personal favorite legend in the game, and it does hurt me to put him pretty low on the overall power scale. If you are very good with Crypto, he is higher than B tier, and I can't deny it that Crypto has been very stagnant over the past few seasons or even years, and because of this, it is again hard for me to rank him much higher right now. Crypto really doesn't have a passive, and his ultimate is also tied in with his tactical drone. This means without the drone, who really is Crypto? Is Crypto actually the passive and the legend is the drone? I don't know. The addition of Seer also makes Crypto feel a little bit redundant, and now that even Ash can find enemies around the map with a simple look at the map, it once again makes Crypto feel a little bit not needed. That being said, though, Crypto still deserves a solid B tier if you do learn how to use the drone in conjunction with the EMP to make some aggressive EMP plays. It is absolutely a way to decimate squads. Crypto is rumored to get a little buff or rework in the future, but for now, there's legends that are much, much better than him. Next up is going to be Loba. Loba, in my eyes, is a legend who honestly is a solid all-around pick. She isn't higher on my list, really, though, because Loba is more of a convenience legend rather than someone that is a playmaker, and she doesn't have too much when it does come to killing squads. That being said, she has an immense amount of usefulness, not just for herself, but for the entire team, which is what Apex Legends is all about: team play. Her passive lets her find loot quicker off spawn, which can be huge and can be the difference between life and death off of your drop, but it does lose some usefulness later on in matches. The ultimate is always great to pick up ammo when needed or to bypass the need to run around and loot. Her bracelet, oddly enough, does feel like it's a part of her kit that you really aren't using Loba for, and I do think that the bracelet could use maybe another small buff. All that being said though, Loba really is a great legend that I think is worth you using from time to time, especially if you just want to focus on fighting teams. Loba also has a little bit of a boost for Storm Point because loot is a little bit more spread apart. And again, Loba will bypass this a little bit and help you get loot a little bit faster. Our first of a slew of B+ legends is going to be Bangalore. Bangalore is an incredible legend that honestly just suffers from the meta we are in. Scanning in Apex Legends is pretty prevalent. With every new legend, it seems like we get new ways to track players down. Bangalore's premier ability, the smokes, are really great, but at the end of it all, they aren't going to help too much when you are fighting a Seer or a Bloodhound, which honestly, it is pretty likely as both of these legends have a decent pick rate. Bangalore's passive though is super underrated, and the ability to move quicker and faster to bridge gaps is quite nice. Her ultimate is also pretty sneaky good, and I find it has really been playing nicely on Stormpoint, as there's lots of narrow canyons players can navigate through, and the ultimate will decimate them. Bangalore is another legend that needs some love, as she has been pretty much the same forever, but she is still a really great legend, and it's worthy of a pickup if you do want one of the most well-rounded legends in Apex Legends, who honestly I think is a little bit of a sleeper pick on this entire list. And also, Bangalore is capable of both supporting the team and attacking enemies, which is pretty hard to find in a legend. Since we did just mention him, Seer is another B+ legend who is really great but has fallen off quite a bit since his introduction last season. When Seer came out, he had the complete kit of abilities that were absolutely busted and super good. That being said, he saw a handful of nerfs and is still a really great legend. Seer's passive is one of the best aspects of his kit, as it does allow you to hunt and track down enemies with them having zero idea that you are doing so. Seer's tactical is also extremely clutch to stop enemies' heals, abilities, and even stop a revive from time to time. Seer's ultimate is also great for tracking a location and to also get an idea of who is around, but I do find that the ultimate to be less and less useful, as players now know to crouch to avoid detection and to find the center and just destroy the ability altogether. Seer is good, but I don't think he is quite as crazy as he once was when he was first introduced. If you want an alternate support scanning legend and aren't a fan of Bloodhound, then Seer would be my go-to pick. Fuse is the third legend at B+, and Fuse has seen himself go from very dark days to now being a really solid option. Like pretty much every other legend these days, Fuse also has some recon capabilities in his kit. His ultimate has the ability to highlight enemies that are trapped in it, which is nice to give some additional information to the team. Honestly though, his ultimate works really great as a zoning tool as well, and also it is pretty deadly for those that do get caught in it. However, Fuse's tactical clusters are my favorite part of his kit, as they also have an incredible amount of usefulness. These also have a zoning aspect with the ability to prevent pushes, get enemies to move, and to deal some solid damage for those that are not aware of how much they are actually doing. The most lackluster part of Fuse's kit for me is his passive and the reliance on a consumable item. While it is okay, I don't find it overly practical to be holding on to something like 8 grenades in a game just to throw them all at like one team, and this would come at the cost of other items like extra shields or extra ammo, which is very important. I think if Fuse had a small tweak in this aspect, he would really be a superb option that jets him into the amazing category of legends. The final B tier legend is going to be the newly improved Wattson. Wattson for me has seen a sizable increase in her rating from previous seasons, and I think it is rightfully time. Her entire kit just feels way more snappy, even though it does have a bunch of glitches right now. The ability to place down fences faster and further and more often really makes her feel like you do not need to rely as much on her ultimate as you used to, and her passive is still solid, and who doesn't like their shields being recharged over time? Her pylon though is the biggest change though, and that shield recharge rate just feels so good and worth using in fights or to heal up the squad after an engagement. Putting all of that to the side though, I do think Wattson still plays in a similar manner as she did before the buffs, and because of this, I have not put her much higher than the B+ rating. Stormpoint is again a very large map, and unless you are intentionally zoning off choke points with her kit, I just do not think she will be the greatest for pub play. If you are playing ranked though, then I honestly do think she could be like A+, even borderline S tier for ranked. Wattson is a really solid pick again, which is so nice to finally say, and I think she could go up a few spots on this list as the season progresses. Before we continue, be sure to hit that like button if you are enjoying the video and to drop a comment down below with your favorite legend so far this season. Also, hop on over to Twitch where I do stream. I would love to chat with you, and I appreciate your support. Moving into the A tier legends who I deem to be really amazing, we are going to have Revenant at A-. Revenant is another legend who has seen both darker and brighter days, but right now he is really quite good. His passive is one of the more underrated parts of his kit, and the near infinite climbing really allows him to make plays that most just do not expect. It's quite satisfying to climb up to support a teammate at high ground and to get some shots on the flank of an enemy. This also increases his skill level without needing just to focus on the death totem like he did in the past. That being said, the ultimate ability is still incredible, and when used properly, if well coordinated, it is one of the best ultimates in the game. Revenant's silences are something that I often find are being underutilized and are underrated as well. This is mostly due to the fact that these tactical silences can actually be very deadly to a lot of the higher tier used legends like Wraith or Pathfinder. Revenant is a great case of a legend that has really taken some time to figure out who he is, but I think he is overall a pretty good legend that is in a fair spot right now, and I think he is well deserving of the amazing tier. If I could critique one thing, I would like to see the ultimate get a small nerf in being less usable with other ultimate abilities like Octane's Pad or Ash's Phase Breach. But do not sleep on Revenant. He's a solid pick right now. And if we go back to that higher climbing for a second, a lot of the buildings on Stormpoint are definitely like 2-story buildings, and being able to just climb right up the side of them is very, very useful. Don't underestimate this. We now have the first solid A-tier legend of Caustic. Gas Daddy mains rejoice as Caustic has seen his way back to the upper tiers of Apex Legends. While Caustic isn't the overpowered, annoying legend he used to be, or brokenly bad like he was for a little while, he has really come around to be a pretty balanced legend that is great. His gas is good, and it can even be deadly if enemies are not paying close attention to how long they are in it. Unlike Wattson or Rampart, I truly believe that Caustic is the best defensive legend because his kit not only has defensive capabilities, but also is innately good for some offensive uses too. Gas traps can be used to stop pushes, post up in areas, block doors, get some heals off, or even use them as makeshift cover. And that ultimate gas grenade is a true playmaker and is also a great way to get enemies out of cover in an aggressive manner or just to stop someone pushing so you can reset a fight. Caustic feels great to play again, which is pretty nice. Definitely don't sleep on Caustic if you haven't played him in a while. He is absolutely a great legend to play, and I think if you are playing ranked, he's probably even a little bit higher than the A-tier rating. Our second solid A-tier legend is going to be Season 11's new legend, Ashe. Ashe is a pleasant and welcome legend to be added to Apex Legends, and I think of Ashe much in the same vein as I did Valkyrie when she came out. She's not bustedly broken and not bad. Ashe's ultimate is an absolute beast of a playmaker, and it's something that can be used much like Wraith's Portal, but in a way more aggressive fashion in this type of play. That being said, though, it does require a lot of finessing to be used properly, and I often find it's better to be utilizing it as an escape tool. It is also just nearly impossible to coordinate an Ashe's push with random players. I don't know if you've tried this, but it is very difficult. Ashe's tactical for me is the major drawback of her kit, as I find the snare is just an okay ability. It does tie up enemies, does a little bit of damage to them, but it does feel very slow at times, and it really does not last on them for too long. I will say it's a really great tool to zone off an area for a couple seconds to prevent pushes, get a heal off, or just try to escape. Ashe's passive, though, is the real deal. The ability to literally see every recent death on the map is absurdly busted. I'm expecting this to get nerfed in the recent days. As if this weren't enough, you can also ping the death boxes for yet again more recon in Apex Legends. Who asked for that? Apparently we did. Ashe is still really new, and she may be deserving of a slight bump as the season progresses, but I am kind of expecting, again, a small nerf to come to her in the coming weeks. At a minimum, though, Ashe is an A-tier legend who is a blast to use and someone who I think will be very interesting to watch as the season progresses. I will say, if you're a very good player using Ashe, then she's probably an S-tier legend because you can really do some crazy things with her kit. Our first of a few A+ legends is going to be Horizon. A+ for means borderline top of the game and are legends that are absolutely great to pick up. Horizon this season has extreme value with her movement and in particular, that tactical ability. Stormpoint is a very large map, and any sort of movement to get your team up to height or around the map is crucial. It also seems that a ton of buildings on Stormpoint are pretty tall, which gives her an even bigger boost. Horizon's passive is insanely good, one of the best. Unlike a lot of other legends, it's always on, and it is always giving her some more unique movement and makes her feel very slippery in fights. In my opinion, though, the weaker part of Horizon's kit is that black hole, but even that can have some real nice uses if you are comboing it well with a good placed arc star, or if you are looking to breach an area with this black hole. Horizon isn't as good as she was a year ago when she came out, but she is still incredibly useful and is a legend that is well deserving of your pick and being on the top of this list. Don't sleep on her, and she is really a great pickup for both the solo warriors and someone looking to help out the team from time to time. The next legend at A+ in borderline S tier is going to be the sweat lady of all sweat ladies, Wraith. Wraith is still 100% relevant in Apex Legends, and Ashe is not Wraith 2.0. Wraith has a bit more usefulness in terms of her ability to reset fights and be a very elusive legend that can still transport the team around with her portal. A lot of top tier players are still rocking her, whether it be from nostalgia of the old Apex days or because she is really good. If anything, Wraith's passive is a bit forgettable, but her tactical is still one of the best out there, even if it does take 100 years to activate. Her ultimate portal is still quite useful, more so in ranked games, but overall it has a lot of utility between transportation, making aggressive plays, or just trying to reset with the ability to quickly get back to the action. Wraith is still a great pick, and let's be real, there's nothing more terrifying than encountering those bald Wraiths out there. My final A+ tier legend is going to be one of my previous reigning champions, Octane. Octane is a great legend, no argument about it, but ever since his health regeneration was nerfed, it does feel like this, in combination with his stim, make him a bit harder to play aggressively than before. The nerf was probably needed because his pick rate was absurdly high, and still is, but even with these nerfs, Octane is still no joke. Passive health regeneration is just crazy good. This ability is active 100% of the time, meaning you're always getting your health back, meaning you always do not need to take as many syringes. Not many other legends can say this about their passive abilities. Octane's stim is still incredible, even if it does chunk into your health quite a bit, and there is almost no way to catch up to an Octane that is running away. The stim is still great for aggressive playmaking, but like I said previously, you do need to take much more care than you had in the past because you are eating up a sizable portion of your health if you are using the stim more than once. Finally, the ultimate of the pad is still incredible for various uses, and an ultimate that only has a 90-second timer is pretty cracked out. His pad jump distance was another thing that was nerfed though last season, and this did sway my decision a little bit to drop him into the A tier category. I truly hope no more nerfs are coming Octane's way, as I really do feel like every small adjustment we get to him just saps the fun out of him, which is very disappointing. I still find Octane is an incredible legend worthy of your pick, and honestly, I'd put him in S tier if it was for fun alone. It is time for our first of a handful of S tier legends, which I deem to be the best of the best that will help you and your team excel in both pubs and ranked gameplay. The first is going to be Bloodhound. Bloodhound has been a top pick for a long while now. Ever since their major Season 6 buff, they have been on top of the world. This is because more or less they do have the ability to do what a lot of other games would be considered cheating, and this is the ability to scan through walls. This tactical ability is too good to not recommend, and even though Stormpoint is still a larger map, it is still close range fights that will matter at the end of it all. Scanning lets you figure out where enemies are and make plays accordingly off of it. Bloodhound's ultimate though is still a powerhouse ultimate that, if used properly, will let you make quick work of teams, escape from fights, or just continue to gather information for the squad. Finally, the passive is still pretty good, and it'll help you track some enemies, which can be nice on Stormpoint since it's already a huge map, and sometimes finding players can be pretty difficult. Bloodhound's an incredible legend, and it feels like the Hound's love for nature really fits well on the newest map in Apex Legends. The second S tier legend is going to be another returnee, and this is Gibraltar. In the fun tier list I did at the end of last season, I did put Gibraltar on the bottom because he does require a bit more thoughtfulness to play him, and it isn't a style of play that is kind of fun for casuals. However, we are not ranking the legends off of fun, and the amount of usefulness that Gibraltar has cannot go unnoticed. Gibraltar is another legend whose passive, tactical, and ultimate abilities are all just too good. The passive more or less will give you a free 50 health boost in every fight. Think about that, always spawning in with 200 health due to that gun shield. This lets you last longer, peek without taking damage, and on top of this, the big guy gets a boost in life due to being a fortified legend. Gibby's Tactical Dome Shield also is an incredibly useful tool that has a ton of uses, from reviving the team faster, creating mobile cover, separating enemies when trying to fight, and of course just the ability to get a second to reset the squad. And finally, the ultimate will allow you to shred through squads with damage, or at least have them get pushed around, allowing you to control the fight. Gibraltar is no joke, and while he isn't the most played in pubs or ranked, his usefulness is near endless, and it's a must-pick legend if you really want a challenge, and if you want a legend that can be one of the harder legends to get a hang of. Definitely do not sleep on Gibraltar. He is one of the best in the game. The next S tier legend is going to be a new addition to my list, and this is going to be Pathfinder. I had a tough time deciding whether or not to place Pathy on top of this list because he hasn't changed much, but it's hard not to include him for a number of reasons. First, the grapple ability is a top tier ability and possibly one of the hardest abilities to really excel with in Apex. Those that do learn it, and learn it well, will reap the rewards of its high skill ceiling in a huge way. The tactile, and in conjunction with his ultimate, still allows him to get himself and the team around in a lot of other ways that legends just cannot compete with. These transportation and movement abilities are much needed right now, and this is the main reason I am putting him on top. I'm saying it again, Stormpoint is huge, and Pathfinder's ability to scale things like mountains and terrain is too useful to not recommend. We have no Olympus or Kings Canyon for all of Season 11, and the fact that Stormpoint will be very prevalent for the entire season, I just can't ignore it. I do wish Pathfinder had a better passive ability, but even without this, he is still an incredible legend that is deserving of a spot in your squad. We have now covered 18 legends, and you guessed it, the final legend is going to be Valkyrie at an S+ tier rating. It's hard to deny it. Valkyrie's usefulness is tenfold when it comes to the meta of Season 11. There are no balloons, or at least not many, on Stormpoint, so the ability to create an artificial one with Valkyrie's ultimate can be a huge relief for the team to have. In addition to this, much like Pathfinder, she has the ability to scale terrain and buildings with her passive, and of course, her passive of targeting enemies while flying will help you out quite nicely if you are trying to push the pedal down and get some more squads to fight. Finally, Valkyrie's tactical ability is probably one of the more underrated abilities in the game, and being able to stun teams and do a little damage every 30 or so seconds, I mean, who just doesn't want it? Valkyrie is a really well-rounded and balanced legend who I think exemplifies the pinnacle of Respawn's ability to create a legend that isn't bad, isn't insanely overpowered, but is a legend who is just really great to use. If there's anything that will change with Valkyrie in the coming days, I think it would be a timer to that ultimate ability. It does come back very quick, and I could see the timer getting extended a little bit. But there are a ton of great legends in Apex Legends, and the longer the game is out, the more and more we get to a place where truly every legend has some usefulness depending on how you are using them. I think this is what makes Apex Legends one of the greatest games out there right now. If you are looking to improve your skills with any of these legends, or are looking for some quick ways to excel yourself in Apex Legends, check out our new seasonal tip video where we go over 10 ways to instantly improve you in Apex Legends Season 11. Be sure to hop into our community Discord if you ever want someone to chat with about Apex, or are just looking for others to play with. I truly appreciate the support, and I hope to see you live in those Twitch streams. Happy gaming, Legends.